Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hey, welcome back for another Filling Station service. I'm your host, Pastor Matthew, and I'm super excited as we take off on another lesson in our Master Plan series. Today, we're going to talk about how God is faithful and how He has a plan for each and every one of us. And if we trust Him, He will always bring us victory. So here to get us started with today's lesson is Construction Chris to tell you what's up.
Hey kids, Construction Chris here, ready to tell you what's up. Hey, have any of you ever done any marching before, like pretended you're a soldier or anything and like marched around? Well, today our Bible story involves a lot of marching. Today we're talking about when God got Joshua into Jericho. Now Jericho was a huge city that had walls all around it, but God promised Joshua and the Israelites that He would give it to them as the promised land. And so God told them to march around the city every day for 6 days, and on the seventh day to march around the city 7 times and blow their trumpets, and the walls would come tumbling down. So that sure enough, they listened, and on the 7th day, those walls came tumbling down. God had come through on His promises just like He said. So anytime, and I mean anytime, someone asks you what's up, you tell them, God is faithful. Stand up and say it with me. 1, 2, 3. God is faithful. All right, Construction Chris here. I'll see you next time.
All right, who can tell me what's up? That's right, God is faithful. Today we're talking about how God will never fail us. He'll never let us down. Sometimes He might ask us to do things that seem impossible or seem crazy. And we're going to talk today about how He asked Joshua to do those same exact kind of things. But when He asked Joshua to do it, God brought him victory each and every time. And if we follow God's voice, we can find victory in our lives over the different things that may have a hold over us. Let's open up this service with a quick word of prayer. Father, I thank You for this time that we have together today. God, I ask that You would help us to trust that You are the God of faithfulness, that we never have to walk alone, that we can follow Your voice, and that when You ask us to do something, that You will bring us the victory. We thank You for that in Your holy and mighty name. Amen. All right, well, hey, this is our 5th week learning this memory verse, so hopefully you've got it down by now. Tune in and sing this if you know it.
Big Mac on this track. Yeah. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord will personally go ahead of you. He will be with you. He will neither fail you nor abandon you. Deuteronomy 31:8. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord will personally go ahead of you. He will be with you. He will neither fail you nor abandon you. Deuteronomy 31:8. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord will personally go ahead of you. He will be with you. He will neither fail you nor abandon you. Deuteronomy 31:8. Deuteronomy 31:8. Deuteronomy 31:8. Hey.
All right, let's read that verse one more time together. It says, do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord will personally go ahead of you. He will be with you. He will neither fail you nor abandon you. Deuteronomy 31:8. We're going to talk today about how God will go ahead of us. God has already made a way, and that when we trust Him, when we follow after Him, we already know that victory is going to happen. And we're going to see that with Joshua and the Israelites today as they take the city of Jericho, that God already had the victory in His hands, that all Joshua and his team had to do was listen to Him. Let's think about that as we go into this time of praise and worship.
Hi guys, it's me, Construction Chloe, and I'm here to help you with your worship warm-ups. First thing we're gonna do is grab our hammers. You're gonna have to pretend, and we're gonna do a hammer height. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, switch hands, 1, 2, 3. All right, now we're done with that. Next, we are gonna grab our lumber. You're gonna pretend, and we're gonna do some lumber lifts. So we're gonna start down, up above our chest, above our head. And we're gonna do that 2 more times. 2 and 3. All right, you guys are ready to worship Jesus today.
can tell me what's up? That's right, God is faithful. We've been learning about how the Israelites were wandering in the wilderness, being led by Moses. And you might remember that the Israelites, they were ungrateful, they complained, but God showed them grace and he continued to provide for them in the wilderness and in the desert. But here's what happened. Because of their bad attitudes, they missed out on the promises that God had for them. See, God will show us grace and he'll continue to provide for us. But if we don't turn towards him and we don't follow him and we don't trust him, we might miss out on the promises he has for us. So the Israelites, they weren't able to enter the promised land, the land that God was leading them to. Instead, they had to wander around in the wilderness for about 40 years until they had passed away, and then God was going to lead their kids into there. Well, Moses had finally passed away, and Joshua was now in charge of the Israelites, and it was finally time for them to enter into the promised land. So as the Israelites were on their way there, they had to cross the Jordan River. Now, this is a really cool story. God actually, he stopped the flow of water at the Jordan River. And so the water, as it was flowing this way, it was almost like God just put his hand down there and the water stopped. And the Israelites were able to cross the Jordan River on dry ground, and they were able to get everyone across. It's a pretty amazing thing. It's kind of similar to when God parted the Red Sea. See, God continued to do things for the Israelites time and time and time again. He was faithful towards them. Now it was time for them to go into the promised land. So God told Joshua in Joshua chapter 6 to go into the city of Jericho. He told him that he would give Jericho over to the Israelites, but there was only one problem. Jericho was a big city, and it had a big army, and it had huge walls all around it. How were they supposed to take this city? Well, the people of Jericho had actually heard about the Israelites, and they were scared of the Israelites. So they actually hid behind their big walls. They sealed their big gates because they knew that the Israelites had a powerful God, and they wanted to have the best protection from them as possible. They figured behind their walls, there was no way that the Israelites could do anything to them. Well, God is faithful, and he had a plan. So God told Joshua to gather his fighting men and 7 priests, and he told them to take the Ark of the Covenant and march around the walls of the city once a day for 6 days. He told Joshua then on the 7th day that they should march around the city 7 times, and at the end of it, they should all begin to shout and blow their trumpets, and that the walls would come tumbling down. Now this sounds kind of silly. Why would they have to march around the city to knock these walls down? I mean, are you serious? Like, that kind of sounds like something that wouldn't make sense. Can you imagine marching around a building and then all of a sudden you start to hear it rumbling and the whole building just collapses? I can't imagine anything like that happening to me. But here's the deal. Joshua knew that God was faithful, and he was going to listen to God. And so him and his men marched around the city carrying the Ark of the Covenant for 6 days. Then the 7th day came. They marched around the city 7 times. And on the 7th time, the men blew their trumpets, and then Joshua told them to begin to shout. What do you think happened next? It says in Joshua chapter 6, verse 20, when the people heard the sound of ram's horns, they shouted as loud as they could. Suddenly, the walls of Jericho collapsed, and the Israelites charged straight into the town and captured it. This huge city with a huge army and walls all around it, God delivered it to the Israelites. He gave it to them just like he promised. And boys and girls, God has things that he will do for us, and he is faithful, but we have to be willing to listen to him. See, what God asked Joshua to do was kind of crazy. What kind of attack plan is it to march around a city? But God was faithful, and even when he asks us to do crazy things, it's our jobs to listen and to trust him. See, sometimes in our lives, God's going to ask us to do things to follow after him. Maybe it'll be sharing Jesus with a friend or a neighbor. And those might seem scary, but we can trust that God is faithful and he'll be with us through that. Sometimes in life, we're going to face tough situations. Maybe someone that's close to us gets sick or passes away. Something bad could happen at any moment. And we have to trust that God is faithful and he's there with us. It's just like our Bible verse for this month says that he goes before us. He has a plan for each and every one of us. So I have a question for you this morning. Are you going to be like Joshua? Are you going to trust in the God of faithfulness, that when things get tough or when you're faced with an impossible situation, that you'll turn to him and you'll trust him and that you'll let him provide for you? God is faithful. He won't let us down. He won't fail us. And when we follow after him, he'll do everything that we could ever need. Let's close with this time of worship. And I want you to begin to just pray and say, God, thank you for your faithfulness. Help me to trust you and be faithful back towards you. Let's sing this song together.
But there's a God out there who will help me walk through it, to be by my side, time after time. And no matter what, I just remember you're the God of faithfulness. And I will never walk alone.
Jesus, I thank you that you are the God of faithfulness, that we never have to walk alone, that we never have to face tough moments alone, that we can listen to your voice, and each and every time we'll find victory in you. I thank you for that in your holy and mighty name. Amen. Wow, what an amazing service we've had today. Thank you, boys and girls, for tuning in and listening as we talk about the God of faithfulness. I want to challenge you to trust him each and every day of your lives. Have a great week.